One crisp autumn morning, just as I was getting ready for a client meeting, my phone rang. I answered calmly, but the moment I heard my mother's voice, I knew something was wrong. "Michael," she said carefully, "we need to talk about the house." My stomach tightened. This wasn't just any house, it was our family home, passed down for generations. I had spent my childhood there, baking apple pies with my grandmother, learning woodworking from my grandfather. That house was part of our history. "What about the house?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She hesitated, then the truth came out in a rush. My father's gambling had finally caught up with us. His debts had spiraled out of control, and in desperation, they had sold the one thing that was never meant to be touched, our home. "We had no choice," she said, her voice breaking. "The debt collectors were after us. Your father swore this would be the last time." I had heard that promise too many times before. My grandmother had left the house to me in her will, making it clear that it should stay in the family. But now, without even telling me, my parents had sold it. "How much?" I asked, my voice ice cold. The number she gave me made my blood freeze. They had sold it for far less than it was worth. And worse, the buyer was a real estate developer with ties to the casino owner. It wasn't just a bad decision, it was a scam. I spent the next few hours digging for information. As a forensic accountant, I knew how to find hidden truths. I called old family friends, checked property records, and spoke to my father's business contacts. The deeper I looked, the worse it got. My father had borrowed from everyone, friends, family, loan sharks. The debts were endless. But what hurt most was how easily they had let go of our family's legacy. I remembered my grandmother's words. "Family isn't just about blood. It's about honor. About protecting what matters." By the end of the day, I had everything I needed. Bank records, loan agreements, property documents, every detail lined up, exposing a web of corruption. My parents thought I would be helpless. They were wrong. I stared at the file in front of me, already forming a plan. This wasn't just about getting the house back. It was about bringing down the people who had profited from my father's addiction. The casino, the developers, the loan sharks. As the sun set, I made my first call to a lawyer who specialized in financial crime. "I need your help," I said. "We're going to take them all down." The fight had just begun. The next 6 weeks became a masterclass in strategic preparation. My forensic accounting skills, typically used to unravel complex financial fraud for corporate clients, were now laser-focused on my personal mission. I discovered the real estate developer, Marcus Reynolds, wasn't just a random buyer. He was deeply connected with the local casino's ownership group. The house sale was part of a larger pattern of predatory practices targeting families with gambling-addicted members. My first move was subtle. I began gathering comprehensive documentation, not just about the house sale, but about every transaction, every loan, every suspicious financial movement connected to the casino and the developer. Laura, my contact at the state's financial crimes unit, became an unexpected ally. "This goes deeper than just your family's case," she told me during our third meeting. Her preliminary investigation revealed a systematic exploitation scheme targeting vulnerable families. "They've been doing this for years," Laura explained, spreading documents across the conference room table. "Gambling addicts get deep into debt, then these developers swoop in and purchase properties at ridiculous undervalued rates." Each piece of evidence was carefully documented. Bank transfers, loan agreements, property assessments. I assembled a case so meticulously that it would be impossible to dismiss. Meanwhile, I maintained a calm exterior with my parents. Short, polite conversations that revealed nothing of my true intentions. They believed I was still processing the loss of the family home, unaware of the storm brewing beneath my composed surface. My father, typically boastful about his supposed business acumen, didn't realize I was systematically dismantling his entire network of deception. Each conversation was a carefully choreographed dance, with me extracting information while revealing nothing. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. My father's former business partner, Robert. After years of being burned by my father's unreliable business practices, Robert was more than willing to provide testimony about the pattern of financial manipulation. "Your father never could resist a bad bet," Robert told me over a carefully arranged lunch meeting. "But this time he's gone too far." Robert provided crucial documentation showing how the casino owners had been systematically targeting families with gambling addictions, creating a predatory ecosystem of debt and property acquisition. By the 8th week, I had assembled a comprehensive dossier that was more than just a personal vendetta. This was evidence of a widespread criminal enterprise. My strategy wasn't just about recovering the house. It was about exposing an entire system of exploitation. I contacted an investigative journalist, Maria Rodriguez, who had a reputation for taking down corrupt local institutions. Her initial review of the documents confirmed what I had suspected. This was a story that could blow the entire operation wide open. They've been doing this for years, Maria confirmed. Preying on families, using gambling addiction as a weapon to strip people of their assets. The plan took shape with surgical precision. We would not just file a legal challenge to the house sale. We would create a comprehensive expose that would dismantle the entire network. My mother called periodically, her conversations increasingly nervous. They sensed something was coming but had no idea of the scale. "Are you okay, Michael?" she would ask, her voice tentative. "I'm fine," I would reply, my tone neutral. "Just handling some things." Each conversation was a carefully constructed facade, hiding the legal and investigative machinery I was setting in motion. The local authorities were brought in, not through an aggressive approach, but through a meticulously constructed case that they couldn't ignore. Financial Crimes Unit, Property Assessment Board, State Gambling Commission. Each was provided with irrefutable evidence. By the 10th week, the first domino was about to fall. Marcus Reynolds, the real estate developer, had no idea that his entire network was about to be systematically exposed. The casino owners who had been profiting from this scheme were equally unaware. My grandmother's words echoed in my mind, "Protect what matters," not just with anger, but with intelligence. I wasn't just seeking revenge. I was seeking justice, not just for my family, but for every family that had been similarly exploited. The final pieces were falling into place. The investigative report was ready. The legal challenges were prepared. The authorities were briefed. All that remained was to set everything in motion. My phone rang. It was Laura from the Financial Crimes Unit. "We're ready," she said. I looked out my office window, watching the city move beneath me. "So am I," I replied. The game was about to change. Permanently. The next morning, everything exploded simultaneously. Like a perfectly synchronized military operation, every aspect of our meticulously planned strategy went into motion. Maria Rodriguez's investigative piece hit the front page of the local newspaper. The headline screamed, "Casino Empire built on fentanyl instruction. Predatory practices exposed." Accompanying the article was a comprehensive breakdown of how the casino and real estate network had systematically targeted vulnerable families. Within hours, my phone started buzzing. First, Marcus Reynolds' lawyer called, desperate and panicked. Then the casino owners' representatives. Each call was a mixture of threats and bargaining, which I calmly deflected. "I'm not interested in negotiating," I said repeatedly. "Your actions will be fully investigated." The state's Financial Crimes Unit launched a full-scale investigation. Bank accounts were frozen. Properties were placed under temporary seizure. The network of corruption that had operated in broad daylight for years was suddenly exposed, vulnerable. My parents were summoned for questioning. The look of shock on their faces when they realized the depth of my investigation was something I would never forget. "How?" my father asked, his voice breaking. "How did you know?" I simply smiled. "I learned from the best," Grandma always said, "to protect what matters." The legal proceedings moved quickly. The house sale was immediately invalidated. Not only would our family home be returned, but the developers were forced to pay significant restitution. But this was about more than just our house. Dozens of other families came forward, empowered by the investigation. Families who had been silently suffering, stripped of their assets by the same predatory system. My mother's initial anger transformed into a strange mixture of shame and reluctant admiration. "You've always been different," she said during one of our conversations. "More like my mother than I ever was." The casino's operating license was suspended pending a comprehensive review. The real estate developer's entire portfolio came under intense scrutiny. Marcus Reynolds was arrested, his network of corruption systematically dismantled. My father's gambling addiction became a central part of the investigation. Rehabilitation became a condition of avoiding more serious legal consequences. 6 months after that initial phone call, Our family home was not just returned, it was restored. I used part of the settlement to renovate the property, bringing it back to the condition my grandparents would have wanted. During the renovation, I found something remarkable. Hidden in my grandfather's old workshop, behind a loose floorboard, was a small journal. His notes about building the house, about family, about integrity. One passage struck me particularly. A family is not defined by its mistakes, but by how it rises above them. The local community began recognizing the broader impact of the investigation. Other families who had been similarly exploited found hope. The casino's practices were exposed, creating legal precedents that would protect vulnerable individuals. My relationship with my parents transformed. It wasn't perfect, but it was more honest. My father entered a comprehensive gambling rehabilitation program. My mother started volunteering with support groups for families dealing with addiction. A year later, I sat on the porch of our restored family home. The afternoon sun cast long shadows, reminiscent of those summer days from my childhood. My grandmother's legacy wasn't just the house. It was the lesson of resilience, of strategic thinking, of protecting what truly matters. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was seeking justice, not just for my family, but for every family that had been exploited by a system designed to prey on vulnerability. The phone rang. It was Laura from the Financial Crimes Unit. "We've got another case," she said. "Think you might be interested in helping." I looked out over the property my grandparents had built, the home my strategy had reclaimed. "Send me the details," I replied. Some stories don't end. They simply transform. And some family legacies are worth fighting for.